HarperCollins presents The Game by Micah Richards, read by Delon Jessop. To all those who burst onto the scene. Chapter 1. Bursting onto the scene. I felt invincible. I was 18. I'd just made my debut for England. I had my little place in history. I was the youngest defender ever to play for the national team. That night, I'd been up against Iron Robin, one of the best players of his generation, one of the finest wingers of his time. After the game, he talked about how impressed he'd been. This wasn't some nobody. This wasn't a journeyman. This was Iron Robin. I used to watch him on the television. He'd been impressed. By me. I was the next big thing at Manchester City. I'd only made a couple of dozen appearances. Only been in the first team for a few months, but I was already being treated like a senior player. The fans were convinced that I was the future. I was the golden boy. I could do no wrong. There was a new contract in the works. It would tie me down for 5.5 years. It was the longest deal the club had ever offered anyone. My life had changed beyond recognition. I had an Aston Martin on the driveway. I was using a Range Rover as a runaround. I could afford to buy my own house, to buy my mum's house, and still have money left over for holidays in Los Angeles and Las Vegas and for whatever watch took my fancy. There were agents scrapping over me, promising the world. Pretty soon, I'd be taken down to Coots, the Queen's Bank, and be given the VIP treatment. More important than that, though, the thing that meant the most was that I knew I'd made it, and that it wasn't going to go away. There is no such thing as an overnight success in football. Nobody bursts onto the scene. Not really. It might have looked from the outside like I'd come from nowhere, but it doesn't work like that. That wasn't the start of my career. Just like everyone else who gets all the way to the Premier League, years of work had gone into that moment. I'd spent hours driving to training, me, my dad, and my brother. I'd been enrolled in Manchester City's academy since the age of 14. I'd moved away from home when I wasn't much more than a child. I'd done all of it to chase something I knew, even then, was a 1 in a million chance. And that might have been being optimistic. There are a handful of kids who are sure things. There are people like Jermaine Pennant, who signed for Arsenal at 15, or Wayne Rooney, who was scoring wonder goals for Everton when he was 16, or Aaron Lennon, who grew up not too far from me, and James Milner, both of them playing for Leeds at the same age. Leeds were struggling a bit at the time, but the point still stands. Those kids never need to worry. They're the exceptions. For the rest of us, it doesn't work like that. Even when you've spent your entire life playing, even when you've been at a Premier League academy since you started high school, it's a very fine line. There are too many things that can go wrong. It might be a serious injury, one that stops you playing altogether, or it might be a minor injury, but one that comes at just the wrong time. It might be that you stop growing, and the club decides you're too small. It might be that you grow too much. It might be a bad decision, or a family member that demands too much. Or it might be a coach that just doesn't like you. It might be that, through no fault of your own, some other kid emerges who plays in your position, but does everything quicker and stronger and better than you. There are no guarantees. There is no certainty. There are always cautionary tales. I still remember the names of a couple. Sam Williamson was with me in City's academy. He'd been there for years. They'd picked him up far earlier than me, in fact. He had plenty of talent. We got to the final of the FA Youth Cup together. But it never really happened for Sam. He only played once for the first team. He ended up playing for Wrexham and for Fleetwood briefly, and then his career stopped. He did better than millions of people. He was a professional footballer. But he didn't make it. Not in the way he'd have hoped to make it. He didn't get there and stay there. Stevie Jordan was older than me. He was part of the first team while I was still at the academy. He played 50 times for City and then made hundreds of appearances in the Football League. He played for Burnley and for Sheffield United. He was a footballer for almost 20 years and still works in the game now. It's the sort of career that plenty of people dream about, but I don't know if it was the sort of career he thought he'd have when he was a teenager playing in the Premier League. He made it much further than most, but he didn't quite make it all the way. I never assumed that I would be any different. I knew how delicate everything was. I knew that being at City's academy didn't mean I...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?